first read that, I was alternately nodding my head yes and shaking my head no, because I feel passionately that we have an ethical responsibility to recognize and address suffering and privilege, violence, greed, and basic injustice in the world. Any consideration of living a spiritually abundant life can't ignore any of these. It just can't. And yet, Barr is naming a powerful truth. When we see and experience abundance, then our ability to share it grows. Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Angela Herrera gets at a similar idea, also emphasizing the importance of embodying and sharing abundance. She writes, "Abundance is not about having what you want, but about noticing what you have and multiplying it through sharing it, multiplying it through your manner of being in this world." This brings to mind a wisdom story that I return to again and again. It's the story of two men who had been injured in combat in war. Both of them were quite ill. They had to remain quiet and calm. They shared a small hospital room which had one window and one door. One man's bed was near the window. He was permitted to sit up for an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon by the window. The other man had to spend all of his time, lying flat on his back. There was no television or radio, so they talked for hours and hours, sharing their life stories. And every morning and afternoon, the man sitting at the window would recount the wonders, the glory that greeted him beyond the glass. He described a beautiful park with a blue lake where the ducks and swans glided along. Children threw bread to the birds and sailed model yachts. Young lovers walked arm in arm beneath full leafy trees. Beds of roses, dahlias, and marigolds bloomed in bronze, gold, and crimson. And in one corner of the park, there was a tennis court. Many days, lively tennis matches were being played. The man lying flat on his back relished these times. He found a way to appreciate what he already had. He actually lived for the morning and afternoon hours. The man was sitting by the window and would describe the world beyond. But then one day he grew resentful, and the resentment festered and grew and grew. He focused on what he didn't have and wondered to himself, why should the other man get to see these incredible sights, he thought, and desire for more consumed him. Then one night, the man whose bed was by the window awoke, coughing violently and choking. He tried unsuccessfully to reach the call button for the nurse. The other man didn't move. He kept his eyes closed as though he were sleeping, and eventually the room was silent. In the morning, the nurses discovered the man by the window was dead. After allowing a respectable amount of time to pass, the man who had to remain flat on his back asked to be moved to the bed next to the window. After he was moved and the nurses left, he hoisted himself up on one elbow. Moving caused him excruciating pain. It took all the energy he had, but he wanted just one look out that window with his very own eyes. Finally hoisted up, he peered out the window, and there before him he saw a blank wall. This is from 100 Wisdom Stories from Around the World and edited by Margaret Silf. Who hasn't wanted what another person has? Who hasn't ruined their own happiness by focusing on what they lack rather than what they have? Despite looking out and seeing a brick wall, one man was able to see beyond that wall, to see a vision of hope and life and beauty and share that vision. It isn't that he didn't see the wall. He didn't let the wall contain him, define all of life for him. He allowed the world to come alive and to share it, to multiply it. How incredible to see through such eyes, to embrace the wide open sky. The other man, by focusing on what he didn't have, lost what brought him joy. the stories the other man told him, and the companionship. The man whose bed was by the window lost his life, but so too did the other man. How different that story might have turned out had that man, lying flat on his back, looked for the abundance that already existed in his life. Quaker educator Parker Palmer encourages people to assume that at its core, the universe abounds with generosity and potential. He writes, "The quality of our active lives depends heavily on whether we assume a world of scarcity or a world of abundance. Do we inhabit a universe where basic things that people need, from food and shelter to a sense of competence and of being loved, are ample in nature? Or is this universe a universe where such goods are in short supply and available only to those who have power to beat everyone else to the store? The nature of our action will be heavily conditioned by the way we answer those bedrock questions. In a universe of scarcity, only people who know the arts of competing, even of making war, will be able to survive. But in a universe of abundance, acts of generosity and community become not only possible, but fruitful as well. From the active life, a spirituality of work, creativity, and caring." When I heard Palmer's words, I can't help but think of how much these acts of generosity and community are needed right now. We need fruitful ways of sharing rather than stinginess and competitiveness. We need ways to reopen ourselves to beauty and gratitude and see not only the proverbial glass being half full, but also the whole glass. Just consider this story by Chester Bennington. He was interviewed as a part of a Project Human, a documentary film capturing stories of the human condition. It's a story Bennington shared about his grandfather. He said, "The magic moment I had with my grandfather was right after my grandmother died. And I went to see him, and I knew he was hurting, but I wasn't sure what kind of state he would be in. She was his partner of 65 years, as well as his driver. I went to see him, and I said, 'Grandpa, how are you doing?' He said, 'Did you know that for $4 I can get a shuttle anywhere in the city?' I said, 'Wow, that's great, Grandpa.' He said, 'Well, I went to the grocery store, and I went to the woman behind the counter, and I said, I have a list of things. Could you help me find them? My wife has recently changed her residence to heaven.' And I said, 'Grandpa, man, you always help me see the glass as half full.' And he leaned back and looked at me in the eyes and said, 'It's a beautiful glass.'" This excerpt is from Human, Jan Arthus Bertrand. It's a beautiful glass. Imagine being able to see that glass, to see that it's beautiful, to affirm that life is still beautiful even after a terrible loss. This is not a Pollyannaish optimism. Seeing the beautiful glass does not ignore life's harsh realities. It is a fierce and heart-opening affirmation of the inherent capacity and capability of beauty and goodness and compassion and fairness in the world around us. This outlook insists on seeking and finding the best in our lives and the lives of those around us. It invites us to embody abundance in nature, at work, or at home, whether we are alone or in a crowd, with friends or strangers, whether in times of quiet or times when life is coming at us faster than we ever imagined it could. It invites us to embody abundance even in those mud-puddle times. As the French-Swiss poet Jean Petit-Senn wrote, "It's not what we have that constitutes our abundance, but what we appreciate." May we notice what already exists and be grateful for it. May we learn to see the beautiful glass. May we embody abundance and come to share and multiply it with each other and the world. Amen. Blessed be. Okay, and now our closing hymn is number 131. Life is the greatest gift of all.
331.
331? Oh, okay. 331. Thank you for the correction. And that's in the gray